What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. Sorry for taking 2 weeks off, but 7 on Sunday is back and better than ever. I wanted to recharge the batteries, get some fresh ideas, poll you guys. I was actually asking you over on my Patreon what ideas you like most and hitting you guys up on Twitter as well. I think I've got a good batch of ideas and a good idea of where I want the series to go, at least over the next month or two. Today, I'm going to be talking about 7 bands that completely changed it up, completely switched genres, changed up their style, and just the music that they were putting out into the world. Everything from rock to pop to EDM. Bands have managed to go in a lot of different directions over time, and while some have been a natural evolution, others have been a bit more jarring and not so well received by me and critics in general, although some of the moves were quite acclaimed, and we will dive into that as well. I'm not super familiar with every single band on here, but I've at least casually listened to them enough to give a well-rounded opinion on the change in sound over time. Be sure to leave a like on the video today, leave suggestions for future episodes of 7 on Sunday in the comment section down below, upvote some of the ones that you see, you like the idea, just so I can see it a little bit easier due to the flood of comments that I get sometimes on these episodes. And other than that, I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's start off with my very first pick, Radiohead. When a lot of people think Radiohead, they think, oh, that band that everyone praises, but maybe I don't know a ton of their stuff. And that was me for a long time. I'm still not a Radiohead connoisseur or even a huge, massive fan at this point. Maybe that will change with time, but I've definitely warmed up to them. And it's one of those things where you see them praised so much, and you maybe initially hear like 1 or 2 songs, and you're not exactly sure what era to start with. If you go all the way back to the start, though, with Pablo Honey, their debut album, you'll see that they went from the grunge and the kind of gloomy 90s-ish rock to just totally ditching that as they moved forward on albums like The Bends, which even took in some Britpop influences and just alternative in general, and then finally just evolving with like Kid A and OK Computer. Those albums were a massive departure from the band's signature sound, and while critics picked up on it pretty quickly, fans weren't exactly always so loving and receptive. In fact, there was kind of an outcry in the late 90s whenever OK Computer and Kid A came out. Obviously, they were expecting a certain sound of the band because there was a mainstream popularity about them, especially because of their song Creep, which Tom York and company don't exactly look back on too fondly. I don't blame them that much, especially not wanting to play it live, but as soon as Johnny Greenwood breaks out that riff in a live setting, people will still lose their minds for it, even though I think most of the fans are sick of it at this point too, at least the diehards. But critics really were the first ones to pick up on that sound change and embrace it. Fans came around with time, and in fact now they have some of the most loved albums of the 90s and the 2000s, from OK Computer to In Rainbows to even their newest record that I really did love, A Moon-Shaped Pool. These guys mixed it up and they did it right. This is a prime example of somebody evolving and it just being natural. Breathe Carolina come in next on my list. Now obviously these guys started off as a post-hardcore band, something from the MySpace scene, honestly, and I know a lot of people look back on this and probably cringe very hard. I came across them because my friend was just searching up bands in North Carolina on MySpace, and apparently Breathe Carolina came up as one of the search results because that was in the name of the band. And I started listening to some of their stuff, and looking back, oh my god, it is very shoddily produced. You can clearly tell it was in GarageBand, but they moved past that. There was screaming from Kyle Even, who has now left the band, and that is a big reason why they just totally changed their sound. Now, David Schmidt is the lead singer, the leader of this kind of EDM trio that really has a guitarist and like a drummer and stuff, but they don't exactly seem to really play instruments anymore, which makes it kind of weird in a live setting. Hello Fascination was really the album where they found their signature sound, if you can actually say that for a band like Breathe Carolina, but it was the one that I kind of connected with. I have some songs on there that still have a place in my heart just because I was in my teenage years. It's something that I can look at it, I can see that it is objectively bad, but I still don't mind listening to them from time to time. It was kind of a mixture of like electronic rock and just mixing in synthesizers, big choruses with some screams and some loud guitars as well. And I think that's why I found them interesting in high school, maybe even early college years, and can still tolerate it to this day. But then they lost their screamer Kyle, they put out the album Savages, and it was something that was really kind of the turning point for them. You guessed it, Linkin Park have made my list, of course, because they are always shifting in their sound. From album to album, it's almost expected for them to totally mix it up, because Mike Shinoda, Chester Bennington seem to love a little bit of everything. In their early days, obviously their first two records, Meteora and Hybrid Theory, they were known as a nu metal band, rap rock, kind of alternative. They were scoring massive hits all over the place, from rock radio to mainstream radio as well. They were seeing success with crossover moments like Numb, Breaking the Habit, and really they did have a signature sound for a little while there. Now they mixed that up on Minutes to Midnight in 2007. They obviously had What I've Done, which was a massive success thanks to, of course, the band being popular and the Transformers movie really exploding that year. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years since that came out, but that really was the transitional moment for them. They had some of the rap rock like Bleed It Out, but they also had some really crazy different stuff from their past stuff like Hands Held High, and then in 2010 they just totally blew everybody out of the water by releasing something totally just polarizing, and that was 1,000 Suns. And it's an album that I didn't appreciate whenever it came out, but it's something that I can now look back on fondly. This was the moment where they changed over to kind of electronics, bringing in a lot of samples, got very political, actually started cursing on their record for like one of the first times. Bleed It Out did have that, but they were much more just prone to it, I feel like, on this one, letting out some raw emotions. And I like that, looking back at moments like Robot Boy, When They Come For Me. And there's so many other songs like Burning in the Sky, and of course the moment that a lot of people know, Waiting for the End, which was very successful for the band, that still stand tall to this day. From there they went to electronic rock on Living Things, hard-hitting gritty rock on arguably their best record, The Hunting Party, and now have seemingly gone full-on pop with their new album, One More Light. Obviously I haven't heard the whole thing yet, but from what they're releasing so far, it is not looking good, and fans don't really seem to be liking it either. It just seems like a very weird mood for a band like this, just a weird vibe to channel, and they've got Kiara on the lead single, Heavy, and it's just very hip-hop influenced, very almost trap flavored with its beat that's really running, and there's not really that many instruments on the track. And even Battle Symphony really just seems to be kind of out there, almost like an Imagine Dragons type track, and I don't know how much I like that. In fact, I know I don't like that, but that's just the band's change in sound over time, and it's been really kind of fascinating to watch them go in and out over the years. Bring Me the Horizon were not my cup of tea in their early years. In fact, their first handful of records, No. Suicide Season was my introduction to them. Diamonds Aren't Forever was very popular on MySpace back in the day, and I downloaded a few of their songs from that record, but I never really liked it all that much. I just did it because I had some friends that were like into like very hardcore, like almost deathcore leaning stuff, and I wasn't, but I was like, a couple of these are okay. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, especially people who love the old Bring Me the Horizon, but I love their new stuff so much more. Sempiternal is one of my favorite albums of the past 5 years. Honestly, it would probably rank somewhere in the top 50 easily. Before we got the great record that is Sempiternal, we went through the transitional moment, something that hinted at what was to come, the change in sound on their excellent album that I am thoroughly entertained by, There Is a Hell, Believe Me, I've Seen It, There Is a Heaven, Let's Keep It a Secret. That's something that came out in 2010, really started to show signs of life for this band. I started connecting with it. I wasn't a huge fan at its time of release. In fact, I didn't even hear the full album until years later. Sempiternal saw a totally different vocal approach from Ollie Sykes. Sure, he was still screaming on a lot of these moments, like the excellent Empire Let Them Sing, and then he started to channel something vastly different, like And the Snakes Start to Sing, and even the massively popular Shadow Moses. And then moments like Deathbeds, people were very, very confused on exactly what was going on with Bring Me the Horizon. And then they went full-blown, stadium-ready rock with their next album, That's the Spirit. And that's where a lot of new fans were won over, and a lot of fans cut ties with them just because they were like, this is too much, I can't do this is too poppy. Fortunately, I'm totally on board with this UK band's change of pace. I like that they mixed it up on That's the Spirit, and in fact, the album has only grown on me with time. There's a lot of great songs on there, like Blasphemy and Run, that are very underrated, and there's also some softer moments that really changed the pace, like Oh No. I highly recommend looking through their whole discography, especially if you're not that familiar with them. Just look and see what all has changed over the years. In fact, it won't be very hard to spot it all.
Main machine! Main machine! Brings good. Tires fade. Burn it! Can you turn back up louder? Someday, when my life has passed me by, I'll lay around and wonder why.
Oh, the 90s. This is a band that I really don't like very much. Sugar Ray is the name of the group. They were massively popular for about all of, 2 years, maybe like 1 or 2 albums. They had that huge song Fly, which I hate. One of the most detestable songs of the late 90s in my opinion, but hey, that's just me. They had a couple of moments that I thought were okay. I enjoyed them for a very brief time because they were in the movie Scooby-Doo, and I was just obsessed with Scooby-Doo whenever I was like 10 to 13 years old, and I am very sorry, but there's a couple of songs that I think are okay, like When It's Over. Let's be honest, there's no way that most of you know more than 5 songs by this group, and they're all their pop rock crossover stuff with kind of the islandy type vibes, maybe a little bit of fake reggae or something like that, and I wasn't into it. I'm not into it. I don't go back and listen to Sugar Ray, but that is not how they started. They started off as kind of like a funky punk hardcore band, and just listening to some of that early material, I was shocked because I had no idea that these dudes would ever play with that much energy.
I don't know, but it's been said, your heart is stronger than your head, and this location is my home.
Many of you probably know that the Red Hot Chili Peppers are one of my favorite bands of all time, but what you might not know is that I don't really like their early material, and I know a lot of people are probably very divided on that once again because they had a very clear funk rap influenced sound on their early albums like Freaky Styley, but that was not something that I care for all that much. In fact, Anthony Kiedis just kind of scatting, jumping about, going crazy behind the mic, it really just seems kind of like a mess at this point, and going back and listening to that, I have a hard time sitting through those early albums. They had a massive success with Give It Away and their cover of a Stevie Wonder track, Higher Ground, and then they really just started to break away in the late 90s with more of like a pop and rock and alternative vibe with some great smooth guitar playing that I really love. Californication, By the Way, and even Stadium Arcadium really mixed it up. That double album especially, a lot of great songs on there, everything from She's Only 18, Slow Cheetah, and the obvious Danny California. If you listen to that next to something off of their first album like Police Helicopter, holy shit, it's night and day, you won't even know. I highly recommend actually reading Anthony Kiedis' biography. I'm reading it right now myself, and it's thoroughly entertaining, and it'll give you a little bit of insight into this band and their change in sound over time.
Taking time or time out. Can't take the in-between, asking me for space here in my house. You don't know how to fuck with me, acting like we're not together.
Number 1 on my list. Oh, Maroon 5. I love talking about the Adam Levine experience these days. Ego through the roof, pretty much a one-man show now, but was it always that way? No, in fact, they had great material in their early days for somebody getting played on the radio, a band that you could actually hear their bass grooves, their guitar, and some awesome vocal melodies on songs about Jane, and It Won't Be Soon Before Long. What the fuck happened? It's no secret that I hate modern Maroon 5. Their music is garbage, everything from their new song Cold with Future to Payphone with Wiz Khalifa. It just seems like they're hopping on every trend possible, and only Maroon 5 could turn a Kendrick Lamar feature into something just grating. Adam Levine and company seem content cashing checks at this point, churning out songs for Just Dance 2017, whatever soundtrack that they can get on, or whatever commercial they can be in the background of. Adam Levine is on The Voice, gets a ton of exposure, so Maroon 5 keep dropping singles and maybe another album's on the way at some point. And they keep teasing and taunting fans. By every album cycle, they're like, oh, this is the one where we're gonna get back to the instruments and maybe more of a songs about Jane type vibe. And then they drop songs like Cold with Future. And I'm just like, bands are definitely allowed to do whatever the hell they want, and who am I to say? A lot of people enjoy it, but I think a lot of people would also agree with me when I call it a de-evolution, especially whenever it comes to Maroon 5. Huge steps backwards and just awful content at this point. Thanks for watching this episode of 7 on Sunday, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing me talk about 7 bands who totally changed their style. Be sure to leave a like on this video and let me know some other bands that have totally changed over the years. And is it for the better or is it for the worse? Click right here if you want to see the full 7 on Sunday playlist that has all of the episodes so you can catch up, or if you would like to see a recent video that I did right here on Beyond ARTV, click below me here. My Patreon is over that little annotation all the way in the corner. Click that if you would like to help me out on a monthly basis, help the videos keep coming, and you can find me on social media linked in the description. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on Beyond ARTV.